food combining. So this is where we're eating specific food groups separately or together based on what it is to improve digestion.
I'm going with no cons. This is the basic foundation nutrition. We need to combine depending on the client's digestive needs too. Food combining is not new. Ayurvedics, traditional Chinese medicine, they combine food for centuries.
Intermittent fasting is an eating pattern that cycles between fasting and eating periods. It can support weight loss, metabolic health, and it can simplify eating habits.
Yes, totally on board. Intermittent fasting, the difference is you need to be really good at what you're doing.
The keto diet. This is a high-fat, low-carb diet that induces ketosis in the body, which is a fat-burning metabolic state.
Keto for epilepsy, support. Keto for certain specific ailments and heart disease, support. So one of the ones that continually comes up is diet.
Diet trends. It's like, I heard about this diet. Will it clear my acne? That's the question we get all the time.
Exactly. And some of them I actually have to go look up. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's really called this, but they've reconfigured the name or whatever.
Because this is the thing. Isn't going to be one specific diet for every single human being on the face of the planet. It has to be so individualized because everybody is different. Some person may not have adequate stomach acid, so they're going to need to eat a little bit better. Some person may be dealing with X, Y, and Z. So it's so dependent on your symptoms, your health history, your body constitution, on what you're going to be able to eat.
So I say, let's kick this off, rhyme them off. Let's love it. And if we mention your quote unquote diet, let's just say that this isn't a pro-con list to convert anybody. I want you to think the way we think inside the Clear Skin Solution as coaches. You want to explore. When you're open, all the questions come flooding in, and then you're able to get either that scientific proof if that's the way you process, or you can see if it resonates by trying it.
These aren't going to be like the gluten-free diet, the celery juicing, like those little trends. These are going to be like actual diet trends. First one, alkaline diet. So this focuses on eating foods that help to maintain an alkaline pH in the body. So fruits, vegetables, plant-based foods, while avoiding any acidic foods like say meat or dairy that is going to impact the pH levels of the body.
100%. One thing I do want to say about this alkaline diet is our body does do well in alkalinity. Disease, disorder, illness lives in more of an acidic like balance, right? But again, it's that word balance. So we have to eat the good with the other ones like blueberries. If we want to go by that, it says mainly fruits, blueberries are acidic. So how do we do it? We balance it with a non-acidic alkaline. It's not the meats itself that are acidic. It's the residual breakdown. It's the ash that performs the acidity for the meat. So I don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, I'm eating meat and I'm acidic. No, there's prostaglandins, there's inflammatory, there's PG2 series. We're not going to get into that today. Okay, so a con is the body should be able to balance its pH on its own. So if we continually just overdo alkalinity, we're going to throw off the acidity.
Yeah, because your body wants to be in a proper balance.
Yeah, like we want your stomach acid acidic. Makes sense. We need it to break down the proteins. But we don't want your intestinal cavity acidic. So it's a matter of repositioning how we digest. So what kind of encouraging notes do you want to give to us?
I think the pros about the alkaline diet is it really does improve overall diet quality for someone, especially who's been eating that standard North American diet that may not be used to eating whole foods or more plant-based. So they would be just improving their diet overall, especially coming from that standard North American.
This could be part of it. It's not that the diet specifically just resonates with you and you can do it long term. However, you might be altering your pH balance, and this is a bonus.
This one's one I hear a lot. Not only do we see this in DMs all the time. We have clients asking about it, but when I'm like scrolling Instagram, reading comments on other acne things, this one comes up time and time again. That is the bean protocol. This is a really high fiber diet that emphasizes eating a lot of beans to help detoxify the body and balance hormones. So the idea and the pro of eating, say, the bean protocol would be that it's really rich in fiber, and we want to be consuming enough fiber fiber in our day to be making sure that our digestive system is collecting all of the unwanted toxins and bacteria and excess hormones and flushing out of the body through your stool. So you're encouraging better bowel movements as well. And in turn, this can help regulate your hormones because we actually excrete excess estrogen through our stool. So if we're able to excrete that excess estrogen, it binds it to the fiber and pulls it out of the system.
Okay, then a con. Beans, the music of fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. Right? So what happens is we do have to appreciate that beans, yes, they have a protein complement in it, but they are 70% carbohydrates. So if we have somebody that has an IBS or a SIBO-like behavior or high intestinal pathogens, this can be fuel. This could be food, and we might not be able to break it down. So then we can get gas and bloat.
Like a lot of acne sufferers don't have good digestive system, right? They're lacking stomach acid, they're lacking enzymes, and they're not able to properly break it down. So they're going to lead to more digestive discomfort, whether that's bloating, whether that's gas. And like you said, it can be a perfect little buffet for that dysbiosis in their gut.
And let's be honest, it's not just people with acne.
All right, next one, ready for it? This is the blood type diet. So this is where you're eating based on your blood type. If you're O, if you're A, if you're B, if you're AB, this is going to dictate what foods you should eat based on your blood. And what's pro about the blood type diet is actually, again, it promotes whole foods and avoids processed items.
I do like this one because I'm O and I resonate with animal. The difference is when we don't is because, again, we have to look at the acidity. We have to look at the breakdown of the ash, like we're talking. Is our pH balance off? So I think where the blood type is great. Remember, your blood type is a protein base. So it thrives on certain proteins in the body. It thrives on eating certain ways. Your digestive organs work differently. Like, it's pretty fancy. I think the one's neat. Anytime I do look at it, always this big banner that says, this is subject to not being approved by, or this is not scientifically proven, or, there's claims that. However, I have seen some really great gains on this one.
I agree, right? I'm also O, so that's where they really thrive on a higher protein diet. And for me, I definitely do thrive on the high protein diet. I really do feel it when I'm not eating enough protein in my day.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I don't know the difference between the positive and the negative. Maybe if you have a little bit more of a mixed balance type thing. I don't know. I didn't get that deep into it, but I will say it's pretty neat. Peyton is an A and she loves plant-based more than she likes meat. I don't know, but this one's pretty cool. And I do see some gains on it. I'm not going to discount it. That's what I'm going to say.
All right. So next, this one's been around for a while. The old cabbage soup diet. This one's been around for a while, right? So this is generally done short term. It's short term, low calorie based on eating an unlimited amount of cabbage soup for quick weight loss. So for those that are looking for quick weight loss, it's definitely going to do that because you're very much dictated to just eating cabbage soup.
Yeah. And in our world, if you're just eating one thing, granted, if you eat a purple versus a green, you might get a little bit of different. I do love cabbage. Like if people have H. pylori, if people have gut issues and they can physically chew it and get all those beautiful, mechanically break it down to get the sulfuric behaviors and the detoxification, there's tons of properties. So I love that. But if it causes gas, heartburn, whatever, steam in between.
Yeah, weave it into your day to day. You don't need to be eating straight cabbage soup 3 days because really, if you're only eating cabbage soup 3 times a day for a few weeks, of course you're going to lose weight. When you go back to eating how you were, just going to go right back to what you were doing.
Yeah, if you want to do something as a one day, as a reset, I'm not too hard and fast on that. Do it for one day.
This one's probably been one of the most popular ones, I'd say, in the last year. I think I've had this question on almost every workshop I've taught in the last few months.
Are we still in the C's?
We're still in the C's. This is the carnivore diet. So this is a diet consisting of only animal products. So meat, fish, eggs, some dairy. The pros of carnivore diet is it's high in protein, which is great because we know protein is really important for fueling our body. High in fats and touted to help weight loss and inflammation.
Right. And because we talked about the pH earlier, they're like, wait a minute, that's more acidity. Remember, everything at this point, I'm not sure that I would say, hey, everyone, this is something you can do long term. There might be other ones you can do long term, but I'm not on Bandcamp of long term. With the carnivore diet, we have to also, because it's high protein, we need sufficient stomach acid. We need enzymes to break it down. I have seen clients do this long term and they have gotten ulcers. Not everybody. likely because they didn't have sufficient, or they had hyperchlorhydria, had all these GERD-like behaviors, or if they're on PPIs, it suppresses it, and they can, so it subdues the symptoms, and then they just keep eating carnivore.
Because you need hydrochloric acid to be able to break protein down. If you're eating that much protein, we want to be making sure you're breaking it down.
There's some research that shows it's really good with depression and neurodivergence again, but is anything long-term? I'm not sure. No fiber. Bowels can go off, and they say, well, that's okay because you only need to have a bowel, because the digestive tract. No, we're not little animals. We're not wild animals. We don't have canine teeth like them to do that. So just go with caution.
The DASH diet. It's basically a heart healthy diet that emphasizes whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins while reducing sodium. So this one has been scientifically proven to lower blood pressure and improve heart health.
This is supported by Western medicine as well. A lot of cardiologists will go here. I think there's a better combination than specifically just the DASH. However, it does reduce certain minerals like sodium. Sodium's needed to create hydrochloric acid. It's also part of our vitality balance with potassium. So we need to watch that.
And it also touts including vegetable oils.
Yeah, we're not a fan. Again, Western, right? So Western philosophies. Is there a better one? Yeah. And if you get to it, I'll say this is the jam right here.
I feel like this is a good step in the right direction because it's limiting the processed. Again, it's focusing more on whole foods, but I think we could improve this a little bit further. So next is going to be Flexitarian. Not to be confused with omnivore. Let me differentiate between flexitarian and omnivore. So flexitarian is a mostly plant-based diet that allows for occasional meat consumption. I believe it's under 50 grams, where an omnivore would allow for a regular amount of meat consumption. So a flexitarian is more sustainable for some people than strict vegetarianism. It's balanced and allows for some flexibility.
It's like a gym membership where you actually go, but it allows you to skip the day or two when life gets busy.
The next is food combining. So this is where we're eating specific food groups separately or together based on what it is to improve digestion. So what's great about this is it encourages mindful eating whole foods. Intermittent fasting is an eating pattern that cycles between fasting and eating periods. So it's typically you fast for 16 hours and you eat within an 8-hour window. And the pros of the people that intermittent fast is it can support weight loss, metabolic health, and it can simplify eating habits.
Cons, it's not done right. It's over glamified. Religion, pro. I'm going to give it to you. Yes, totally on board. Intermittent fasting, the difference is you need to be really good at what you're doing.
I don't think it's very few and far between where I see somebody intermittent fasting correctly.
It's absolutely, does it have its benefits? Way beyond what Katie said, 100%. This one is very hard on people because they think that it's going to give them the benefit, but then they go through all of these ravenous behaviors for food. They go in deprivation mode. Their energy goes all erratic. They have mood swings. This is not something that is usually maintained. You jump ship. A lot of people do this for weight loss, and I do not like the two words together, weight loss.
And I also find that men do better with it than women.
Yeah, because it goes more in the keto base.
I find the issue, especially with women, is they're already not eating enough in a day. And now they're restricting their eating even further. So they're going to be putting themselves into caloric deprivation. And they're generally just, again, running on fumes. They're like, I intermittent fast, so I'm going to start eating at 2 p.m. So I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to drink coffee all day until I get to 2 p.m. when I have my first meal.
And you have to watch, right? Anything even an amino acid complex breaks this fast. Vitamins break that fast. Essentially, it's water. Water is the only true fast.
Yeah, we prefer time managed eating where you just a 12 and 12 is great. Eat in a 12-hour window, don't eat for a 12-hour window. Stop eating at 6 p.m., eat again at 6 a.m. Gives you a good amount of flexibility.
I like it.
Which goes naturally into the keto diet. So we're all very familiar with the keto diet. It's been around for a little while now. And this is a high fat, low carb diet that induces ketosis in the body, which is a fat burning metabolic state. And the pros, again, this is going to be good for weight loss, blood sugar control, and mental clarity.
It's good for weight loss until you cap out women. 3 months and they tend not to sustain it. Hormones can go off. They can get hair loss. I mean, a lot of fats in here are fantastic. Brain health. This is why you get mental clarity so fast, because if you have a lot of fat in your brain, like 60%, in the 80s, when we removed all the fat, what happened? We got a high level of neurodivergence. We got high level of cholesterol because you need fats for the cholesterol. So we know we did that wrong. However, when I see bacon wrapped, cheese, fried balls. No. Again, keto for epilepsy, support. Keto for certain specific ailments and heart disease, support. Women in weight loss, listen, let's get you sustainability, manage your blood sugar, and move on with actually eating.
When you're doing a keto, let's remember to have, say, avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, olives, like those healthy fats, and not being like, oh, I just eat an unlimited amount of cheese and call it a day. So this is the diet where I actually hadn't heard of. And I was like, WT, this is the lion diet. So this is actually a stricter version of the carnivore diet, which only like meat, organs, salt, and water. And the idea is that it may help with autoimmune and digestive issues.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have sustainability here.
The lectin-free diet, I've seen this on social media, like obviously we know what a lectin diet is. This has been pretty popular on social, where this eliminates foods high in lectins like beans and grains and nightshade to reduce inflammation. And this can help people with lectin sensitivities.
Personal fan. For everybody, yeah. If you want to reset, I do like going lectin free. You know, remember when we had Dr. Davis on and he was talking about the SIBO? Why I like the lectin is because there's lipopolysaccharides, and those are the LPSs, and then they can bind to foods and nutrients and chelate them out. So we, inside our body, we physically don't get the benefit. Anything we take out is going to be a restriction. Fair? People with autoimmune, the ones I've worked with as a precursor before everybody goes tries this and says they didn't get it, I find they do well with this because of the LPS. I wrote a paper on this as part of my graduating thing. However, why did I get it is because the doctor that read it was like, I didn't see it in that point of view.
Oh, cool.
Love right? That. But that's the way my brain goes, right? So this is why, and without, this isn't what this obviously podcast is about right now, but lectins, give it a good college try. I like it. Neurodivergence, I like it.
Fun fact is that podcast episode we did with Dr. William Davies on SIBO in season 2 last year. It's one of our most popular podcast episodes. Next up is the low FODMAP. So low FODMAP eliminates fermentable carbs, and it's found in some fruits, vegetables, and grains, and it's typically done to help manage IBS-like symptoms. It's effective for IBS and digestive issues.
Yeah, so SIBO, this requires people to think, like you were saying before. This is not something I say, just go do a quick.
This is like a therapeutic, you do this therapeutically.
Actually, let's go back. Diet to me is short-term therapy for a specific purpose, if I had to use it. But we don't think that, because when you use the word diet, what do people think? Yo-yo diet, I've been on 500, eating disorders, all these other things. So FODMAP has its purpose, and then you need to get out of FODMAP, right?
Yeah, it's not a long-term, I eat low FODMAP for the rest of my life.
The thing is you will get gains on this for a specific point and purpose, and then you fear coming out of it. Why? You don't want your symptoms to return. So watch the cyclical cycle there in these.
All right, next is the MIND diet. So the MIND diet is kind of a combination between the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. So it's designed, obviously, to support the brain. So it's been linked to lower Alzheimer's risk and improve cognitive benefits.
I'm going to give this a solid A+, Chris A+.
If we look at the true MIND diet, you and I would probably tweak a little bit ourselves.
Oh, for sure. The Mediterranean, the DASH. I like how the Western meets this beautiful holistic more approach. Mediterranean and DASH are a little bit controversial because if you do a holistic Mediterranean, you're not going to have the seed oils in there, right? We're going to use other factors. We're going to really teach and support that. This is one that I'm okay long-term.
I eat pretty close to a MIND diet. The only difference for me is that I don't eat gluten, obviously, but it's green leafy vegetables. It's rotating in other vegetables. It's berries, it's nuts, olive oil,
fish,
whole grains like oatmeal, quinoa, brown rice. I don't eat gluten, so I wouldn't be doing the wheat. Fish, beans, poultry, and then it avoids butter and margarine, which I don't do, cheese, which I don't do. I do eat red meat. I eat grass-fed beef, so I would have that. Very rarely you don't eat fried foods, pastries, or sweets. So I would say I eat pretty close to this way.
Yeah, I like it from a holistic Mediterranean because let's just be honest, we're holistic.
All right, next is going to be the Mediterranean diet. Again, this is one that I love. So a Mediterranean diet is rich in healthy fats, whole grains, fish, fresh produce inspired by Mediterranean countries. It's heart healthy, well-balanced, and sustainable.
It is. Where there are cons, I'm just not going to give any because I am just pro-Mediterranean. Actually, I am going to give one because just due diligence. Fish are, because of our manufacturing and our industrial, it pollutes the waters and mercury and stuff like that. So please, if we're going to do it, we're going to eat the smaller fish. We're going to eat the clean. You're going to use specific websites like oceanwise.org, and there's some other ones.
Yeah, just go and Google like sustainable seafood because that's what you want to look for. You want to look for sustainable seafood that has good farming practices, that's low in heavy metals, and eating it in rotation and eating lower on the food chain, right? Because you're not getting the accumulation of the toxins. And what's really great is a lot of grocery stores now have even the Oceanwise stickers or the sustainable stickers on their seafood to make it a little bit easier, which is really great. So yeah, we can add that in just to make sure you're being aware of the seafood that you're eating and fish for sure. The Noom diet, Noom, N-O-O-M. So this is a behavior-based weight loss program delivered through an app that emphasizes calorie density and habit formation. So this pro of this is that it focuses on psychology and long-term habits.
Okay, so likey like, no likey like.
All right, because you need to subscribe. There's a cost, reliance on app tracking.
Why I do like it is the focus on the what we're eating, right? It's not just about, but it's about the what and the why. So then we become aware. It's part of the behavioral patterns. It's what we do. It's almost like you have your own coach in your phone database and it's guiding you. However, I've never been on the app, so therefore I don't know what food choices it's electing, so I can't support it that way. So that would be a con, is you may elect this because it's convenient. However, if it's still not resonating for your body, would this not just be like anything else? But I do love the what and the why together.
All right, next is the Nordic diet. So the Nordic diet is very, very similar to the Mediterranean diet, but it focuses on foods you would typically find in Nordic regions like Norway, Denmark, and Iceland. So this is where you're eating mostly plant-based seasonal foods, high protein, complex carbs, and healthy fats. So we're thinking like fruits like berries, vegetables, and seafoods. Next up is a very common one, and that's the paleo diet. So this emulates the diet of early humans, focusing on whole, unprocessed foods, eliminating grains, legumes, and dairy. So what's really great about paleo is it's encouraging whole foods. It's cutting processed items. It's going to be a little bit easier on the digestive system. There we go.
I like this for when we are repositioning, right? So when you want to, again, look for a different sustainable model, go this way. When you want to just jig things a little bit, because we need to. When we're working on acne, I like this for acne. I like truly paleo. Do. Sustainability, yes. I don't love, first of all, not for children, because I don't like to grains out for children. And I don't know that we don't need grains all the time in moderation, but we are so grain heavy as a society. And now that the whole world seems to have gone vegan, in essence, food guide. But because we're doing that, I really want to go like, what's the gain, right? So paleo, yeah.
People with autoimmune disease, they can do on a paleo.
Because a lot of the grains are going to be contaminated and it spikes up.
I have a couple that I'm going to add to the end if we have time because I'm forgetting about them now. Next up is going to be pagan. So this is a mix of paleo and vegan. Dr. Mark Hyman talks a lot about the pagan diet, and this is where your emphasis, I feel like he did invent the coin phrase pagan, where it's paleo vegan, where it's a mix of paleo vegan principles. It's emphasizing whole foods, limiting animal products. It's very nutrient dense, promotes healthy fats. It's a combination where it's more plant heavy, but has the paleo principles.
I'm going to give this a check. I like it. I'm not sure that I'm going to give it a con. What it is I think when you transition into it, if I look at this as a grand scheme of things, I'm looking at more balance, more moderation, more variety. And as long as we get that variety of nutrient, I think pagan can be done very, very well.
You know, and possibly if you're weaving like that blood type, it's like for those that do well on more of a plant-based diet, this could be a nice way of doing it because they're getting more plant proteins and less animal protein. So again, it's what works for you. The good old pescatarian diet. So again, this one's been around forever. So this is essentially the vegetarian diet that allows fish and seafood. So what's great about this is there's more protein variety allowed than your traditional vegetarian diet.
Yeah, and just go caution because I'm probably going to go back to the contaminated waters and the mercury. Do your fish right.
Rotate.
No such thing as organic fish, but that's another episode, so go.
You ready for this one? This is another very popular one. So it's going to be the raw food diet. This focuses on consuming uncooked and unprocessed foods, mainly plant-based. Some people elect to include raw dairy, eggs, and fish, but a true raw food diet is generally uncooked fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, so you're really going to have to balance. I don't know that I've seen raw food done well. It's very uncommon. And I'm not saying if you're listening and you're jamming with the raw and you're not doing it right, I don't see a lot of that. The raw food too, cancer, sometimes when there's cancer, this could be therapeutic, but you have to be monitored because the nutrient deficiencies are going to be there.
Right. Because while it's high in fiber, it's high in vitamins and high in whole foods, we can be risking nutrient deficiencies. One is raw food can sometimes be harder for a gut digestive function to break down. So we want to be making sure that you're absorbing it. We want to be really cautious of, are you getting enough protein in the day?
In order to even get your fat solubles, those vitamins out of raw food, they have to be ingested with fats. So again, like that's a combination, or some of them have to be lightly steamed to, like ginger. When you lightly like heat ginger, there's a medicinal property comes out that becomes even more robust, but lightly steamed, right? Watch out. You can throw off your yin and your yang. In the winter, raw food, that's too cooling.
Eating seasonally, like that's such a great thing to do is when you eat seasonally, like here in Canada, we're not have any raw fruits and vegetables in the wintertime. So this is where we, eating seasonally can be really great for you. Next up is the vegan diet. Again, very popular one. So this eliminates all animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, seafood, all of it. The good parts of it is it's environmentally friendly. It's, more ethical for those that have the ethic reasons. It can be heart healthy. A lot of people do it.
I have seen one in all my case files, and it wasn't even a case file. It was someone I was teaching. Shout out to Michelle, but right there who did vegan right. It's a mastery.
It can be if you do it correctly. But I often see vegans and even vegetarians just eating pasta. I just eat pasta with tomato sauce.
Oh, I call that the Western vegan.
Yeah, the Western vegan. Eating like boxed vegan meals, pasta, carbs. And I'm like, but where's the vegetables? Where's your vegetables? You're just eating greens.
Yeah. And B12, you're not getting it. So definitely supplementation. It's going to be higher in supplementation. Definitely another one's going to be iron. And B12 and iron have a lot of the same deficiency-like symptoms. So watch that. Sometimes, what else have omega-3s? However, we just got to balance it. That's all.
And then there's vegetarian. Vegetarian is similar. It excludes all meat and seafood, but it allows for dairy and eggs. So sometimes it's called lacto-ovo-vegetarian. And the benefits is that it's plant-based and it allows for a little bit more flexibility. Same issues as a vegan diet though.
Vegan and vegetarian opt to be lower in protein. And I get, you don't have to eat, obviously a 4-ounce chicken breast is going to yield you way more, or like 4-ounce chicken breasts and 4 cups of lentils might be closer to one another for protein. Vegan, that they have to eat 4 cups of lentils, like, oh, I'll come back in 3 hours, right? So yeah, we might be able to get lower protein, but again, because we're going to be living on more carbs.
Next is the volumetrics diet. So this focuses on eating low calorie, high volume foods like water-rich vegetables, soups, and fruit to keep you full while consuming fewer calories. So the pro is what people tout is that it encourages healthy eating patterns and portion control.
This essentially is like vegan by concept. If you could master that concept under basically anything else, you've got it.
But they also wouldn't be including like beans because it's higher calorie. They're eating like very water-rich vegetable soups and fruit.
Yeah, they could make in some soups and stuff like that. They would have to watch the portions. I think the amount of planning that goes into this, you are going to, I wonder, I have not had anybody with this, but I wonder if now you're going to be macro counting. And now you're going to hyper focus. And now what's that going to do to our relationship with food?
Again, I haven't seen anyone come in eating this, but I have seen it like around. And I'd be worried that, again, women are already under eating and not eating enough calories in the day. And this would just further that issue that we see. Okay, I have one more and then an honorable mention. Next up is Whole30. If you've been in the health and wellness world, you most definitely heard of Whole30. Everyone, like it's January, everybody's doing a Whole30. This is a 30-day elimination diet that removes sugar, alcohol, grains, legumes, soy, and dairy to help identify food sensitivity sensitivities. So it helps to reset eating habits and identified food intolerances.
I've read comments on this and they're like, oh, I can't do that. You know what I mean? This one gets beaten up a lot.
Because people are like, what do you mean remove alcohol? What do you mean remove sugar?
Why are you trying to put me on a diet? Is this the only one that doesn't have diet in its name? Do you notice that?
It is. It's Whole30. And I've heard this from like friends and family members where they're like, oh, it's absolutely crazy. Like I barely survived on it. I couldn't have any sugar or alcohol. Like it was so restrictive. I'm like, dude, you're eating whole foods and not drinking alcohol. Like
this is a reset. I'm going to give it an A. I would alter it a little bit, because it needs to be codependent on, you don't eat the same way as I do, right? It's going to be codependent on that client. But that's what we get to do inside the Clear Skin Solution, at least, is have that track record to see what those people need to make those tweaks. But Whole30, I'm okay. You know, it's all about repositioning. And why is it 30 days? Because it's trying to reset a habit for you. 30 days, because you're probably going to go off of, it's called a die-off, or rapid dumping, or hercs. You're going to feel like garbage between day 3 and day 10 even.
Coming off from a standard North American diet, especially if you're a regular drinker, you're eating a lot of sugar, like you're probably going to feel like garbage. Honorable mention, because I feel like we should have included this one, speaking of therapeutics, is the GAPS diet, the Gut and Psychology Syndrome diet by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. So it's very similar to like the paleo and specific carbohydrate diet, because the GAPS is really designed for intensive gut lining healing. And it removes foods that can damage or inflame the intestinal barrier. And it's generally divided into 2 phases. The introductory, which is very restrictive, done over 6 stages. And then there's the full GAPS diet, which can be less restrictive and more long-term maintenance. So it's very much like bone broth, grass-fed meat organs, wild-caught fish, pastured eggs, fermented foods, unstarchy veg, coconut oil, olive oil, ghee, homemade nut butters, raw honey, limited fruit. And it's avoiding like grains, processed sugar, starchy veg, legumes, beans, dairy, artificial additives.
Yeah, I try to use an analogy for people. And I always say, let's picture your gut like a broken down car. If the car's broken down, it's not going to be beneficial to us. We can push it and move it, and we can do all these different things. So instead of just like, we're just not going to throw new parts or medications into the mix, like for our body, but we're going to take it to a specialist. We're going to get the engine rebuilt. You know, it really has to be that inside out approach that we talk about all the time, right? We have to use the right fuels and the tools in order to accelerate the process. So if we want to look at repairing that gut lining, it's going to be the whole system for the car to get moving. It's not just going to be, oh, let me get some electrical tape and put back this, I don't know, what do you call car parts, but this tube. There are, so can you tell I don't do that? Or if your muffler's, you ever seen a car with a muffler just kind of dangling there and somebody has a rope holding it up?
Yeah, like sparks are flying off the back of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I picture people when they come in. It's like, you know, they have this car and it's got some little nuggets of things. And then what do? We say, okay, well, look at the muffler. What else is around there that needs to be addressed before we put the muffler so it doesn't get rotten again?
Yeah, it's a very intensive, very therapeutic diet. It requires a lot of planning. It's a lot of homemade meals, and it can take a good amount of preparation. So you just got to make sure you have the time and the brain capacity to do it.
And please be careful. So where it does work on autoimmunes and stuff like that, even those ferments, if you're still having a high histamine-like reaction, you can't even have the ferments. So, and there's different phases in the GAPS diet too.
Speaking of histamines, there's also the low histamine diet, another type of a therapeutic diet that we would be doing for those that have histamine sensitivity. And we do see that quite often with acne sufferers and me.
Bubble alert, if you have an autoimmune, you and histamines, you will have a love-hate relationship.
We have a really great episode on histamine intolerances on season 2. So go back and look for that. That's all of my diets. Is there any other ones you wanted to include there, Cris Brown?
Well, why don't we leave it like this? If there are, why don't people ask us and we'll do a part 2.
All right, everybody. So remember, if you're hanging out with us, you love the podcast, you want to come work with us over in the Clear Skin Solution, just check the show notes. That way we can chat, see if you want to come hang with us, get your acne fixed. Maybe we do some therapeutic diets. Because if you're like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? We are your people to help figure it out for you. So that's it. Another episode here at the Clear Skin Chronicles. We'll see you next Wednesday.